Well, Andy, hi. Good to see you. The last time we spoke, you were packing your bags, ready to go down to Marseille to the Olympics, and I can't believe it's been 7 days already. We're on Friday the 2nd of August today. It's been 7 days of the Olympics already, and I suspect quite a few people who've been sort of watching a bit of it have sort of been caught out a little bit, thinking, "Oh, cracky, yes, the games is going on. What's been happening?" So, particularly in the sailing, where that hasn't yet found its way onto mainstream media, certainly not in the UK, but you've been there watching it all. Just give us an overview, bring us up to date as to what's happened over the last 7 days.
Yes, sure. Well, we have got the prospect of, at the end of two fantastically open competitions in the men's and women's skiff, the 49er and 49er FX, really, really wide open. And in the men's skiff final race, we've got the prospect of 7 out of those 10 teams still being within a shout of a gold medal, and 9 out of the 10 teams could still get onto the podium. That's unheard of, to have that many in the fight this late on in the competition. And it's almost the same in the women, where there are 5 women's teams that can still get to the gold, and even the 6, the Italians, can still get to a bronze. So fantastic prospect in store as and when we get to see those medal races.
Is that a reflection of just how tight the competition is this time around, or is it more to do with the conditions that have thrown curveballs over the races, or what's behind this amazing prospect that we've got in the medal races?
I think it's one of the good byproducts of some really difficult wind that has caused massive frustration to the competitors and race committees, because it's been so fickle. And even the smartest sailors, like the Dutch 3-time world champions in the 49er, who were the favourites here to win the gold, have only just squeaked into the medal race in 10th place. They just haven't been able to find their groove this week. And the conditions haven't enabled people to get in the groove. And no lead, no matter how big that lead has been, has ever looked safe this week, because there are bubbles of pressure, of wind here, but not there. And we've seen people not cover other boats. And even, like, for example, the 49er FX, the Dutch, the other day, they lead round the last mark and they do a jibe set. And that's a really unusual move, because the rest of the fleet did a straight set. So why would you let all that separation creep in, all that leverage? And okay, they still managed to hang on and win that race, but with a lot of risk. And I asked them afterwards, they said, the conditions out there are just so unstable that sometimes you've just got to go with the best breeze that you've got at the time. And if you try and cover the other boat and do the classic mat racing textbook move, you could actually put yourself in more jeopardy. So, it's a really fascinating tactical, strategic battle, trying to keep the boat moving through pretty sloppy conditions at times. It's not been entirely enjoyable for the sailors. It's been, clench, grit your teeth, and just keep on grinding away at it. And I think that's why we've got so many still in the fight.
It sounds like our typical
Now,
Wednesday evening races to me, but anyway, there we go.
well, I mean, all that kind of stuff on the Hamble River would actually all be very relevant to the kind of racing that we've been doing this week. But the other one that's been going on, the IQ foil windsurfers, and we got 2 very contrasting outcomes in the men and the women. So I've been saying how open it is in the skiffs on both sides, male and female. Well, in the men, it's been like that as well. And we're very, very tight points battle, out of which Gray Morris from Australia, this affable 20-year-old who's an absolute dream to chat to. He's just a classic good old Aussie, even though he's 20. And he's managed to book his spot in the final. It's a 3-rider final, which means that at a minimum, Gray Morris has secured a bronze medal for Australia. And he's done it by the skin of his teeth, whereas Wilson from Great Britain, who went in as the favourite, has absolutely this week. And behind her, it's been much more of a scrap. But Emma Wilson's been in a different league this week, and she has easily booked her spot in the final. So she has at least matched the bronze medal that she got in Tokyo 3 years ago. And now it's up to her to see what she can get in that winner-takes-all final match, where all her advantage is scrapped. It's whoever the other 2 are that make it into the final It's whoever's first fast post in that 3 or 4 minute race will get the gold medal. Second will get the silver, and third will get the bronze. So, at least she can sleep well. No, was able to sleep well last night. No, she had a bronze medal, but today she's got it all to do to see if she can win the big prize.
Yeah. And I suppose we should say, for those that are less familiar with the format of the games, is that the medal races are staggered, aren't they, throughout the couple of weeks that that the games run. So just, I don't expect you to be able to rattle off exactly the order of the medal racing, but at the moment, what's the immediate prospect? So if people are catching up with the games, what's happening over the next 2 or 3 days that they should just make a mental note that they should tune in for?
Well, here we are on Friday. The skiff medal races nearly but didn't quite happen yesterday, so they have been pushed back to today. So there are still a few plan A's, B's and C's kicking around this morning, so I can't give you a definitive plan, but the intention would be to get 4 medal races done today, the 2 skiffs and the 2 windsurfers. So by the end of the day, we might know 4 out of our 10 gold medals across the Olympics. But the wind is a little bit shaky again as we get into the weekend. It's really looking quite windy and a lot more reliable. So part of me hopes that actually we don't see it all happen today. We get to push some of it back into the weekend, and then we'd see a barnstorming race of foiling windsurfers in high wind. And then we can really show the world what sailing can look like. Because you and I, the nerds that we are, and probably a lot of people watching this video, we enjoy sailing in all its forms. But for the rest of the world, we really want to present it, absolutely barnstorming 25 knot conditions, big waves. Anyone can relate to that, whether you sail or not. You can see the athleticism and the courage involved in doing that. And so I hope that we get to see at least one of, at least the windsurfing or the skiffs or both push back to the weekend, which is a bit strange, to want to delay it. But that's where we are now. The Ilkas, as the lasers that you and I would call them, just started yesterday. The 470s start today. And the 470s are, as we know, great boats in whatever wind you put them out in, and pretty much the same with the lasers. So hopefully we'll get to see really good footage of the old classes, which often give us the best images, even though they're as old as they are. And then further into the week, maybe even tomorrow, actually, maybe even on Saturday, I need to check the schedule, but the Nacras will be starting fairly soon, the foiling catamarans. And then the last to kick off early next week will be the kites. And I'm really hoping that the kites are given the wind that they need to deliver. They only need 5 or 6 knots to get going. And once they've got 5 or 6 knots of wind, they can do 30 knots of speed because of all the apparent wind that they generate. So that's where we are.
Now, something else I wanted to ask you, Andy. I mean, you were in Tokyo for the last games, and of course, Tokyo was very, very different in that there weren't any spectators there. And I just wonder, is there a perceptible difference in the atmosphere? What's the buzz like down there in Marseille now compared to the last games?
Oh, well, it is massively different. But actually, I mean, yeah, the streets were pretty much empty in Tokyo during the last games because of COVID. But once you get out outside the accredited zone, well, the ticketed place here is absolutely going nuts. The locals are loving it, and there's a lot of visitors as well. There's a lot of fans that have come from around the world to come and cheer on their teams and their sailors. So it's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere in Marseille itself. It's certainly in this part of Marseille. We're a little bit out of the main part of the center of Marseille, but yeah, down here on the beach, it's a huge crowd, and it's blazingly hot. And their commitment to coming down and cheering and spectating in this blazing heat is incredible.
What's the I mean, if people were sort of watching this, or they've been thinking this week, do you know what, I actually just fancy going down there and just seeing what I can see. I mean, what's the possibility? I mean, if you were to fly down to Marseille, head down to that Olympic area, obviously you're not going to get into the ticketed zone unless you have tickets. But if you don't, is it possible to pick up the vibe? Is it worth going down there for that, or are you just so much on the outside it's not worth it?
Well, you would get the vibe, and there's this mark that when the winners win their gold medals, they at the end of the medal races they have to sail round this mark close to shore to make sure that the spectators all get their moment to enjoy the sailors coming back in and out again. I would say if you're a real sailing fan and you also want to come to the south of France, then do it. So I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer on that because it depends how committed you are to the process, really.
Yeah. Well, it's not a definite no. Okay, so you've got to get. I know you've got to get in there and go and do some work this morning. Just before you do, so if we do get to see if the medal races do take place in the 49ers today, first of all in the men's, who do you think we should be looking at? Who are the favourites? I know they're all very tightly grouped at the top, but who will you be looking at in particular?
Well, Diego Botin and Florian Trittel, recent winners of season 4 of SailGP, working with my partner on my online how to put a world-class campaign together, Hamish Wilcox. He's coaching them, the guy that coached Pete Burling and Blair Tuke to gold and silver medals at the previous 2 games in the 49er. He's working with them behind the scenes. They currently wear the yellow bibs and they look very solid mentally and in the boat in any conditions. The Irish, a bit of a surprise to see them up there in second place, but they've sailed an absolutely fantastic week. No one has got to where they are by luck this week. And then the young Kiwis, could they see out another medal to follow in the footsteps of Pete Burling and Blair Tuke, who won 3 successive medals in the 49er. Could it be another one for the Kiwis? And so below the top 3, there are still 4 other teams that could yet get the gold medal or at least a medal of some colour, including Great Britain's James Peters and Finn Steyaert, who started the week a bit poorly, but have got better as the week has worn on. So I'm personally hoping they managed to get a medal out as well.
They did in the first of the 2 abandoned races yesterday. They were going pretty well, weren't they? And in fact, actually, in the second race, they I think were they OCS? Oh no, they weren't OCS. They got stuck in a hole and were dead last off the line by miles. The next time we saw them in a shot, a few minutes later, they got themselves back up to 5th. So they seem to be going very well. What about the in the FX? Who should we be looking at in the FX?
We've got the French, Sarah Steyaert and Charline Picon, very much outsiders for a medal, but good in the light winds. They've obviously put in fantastic training locally, and they look really good in light winds. They're wearing the yellow bibs. It's the last of they'll ever do in Olympic sailing before they retire. So what a way to go out! And pretty much on equal points, just a point in it, but effectively going in level pegging. I would slightly put my money on Adele van Aanholt and Annette Doets, 3-time world champions. Annette Doets won a bronze at the last games with a different helmswoman. So I'd say probably to them. And then if the breeze picks up, then the Swedes, Vilma Bobeck and Rebecca Netzler, are absolutely unstoppable. So it partly depends on the breeze, but I think the Dutch are good in everything. The French tend to favour the light. The Swedes tend to favour the strong.
Excellent. Good. Well, I'm really looking forward to. Well, I've got mixed feelings really, because on the one hand, I'm itching to see. I was watching yesterday, and I was very impressed with what I saw. It was great, very easy to follow. It was good coverage. But on the other hand, I'm dreading the fact that it'll be another half day at least that is lost to doing other stuff, because I'll just get drawn into it. But anyway, there we go. Well, let's speak in the next 24, 36 hours and give us an update. We'll hook up and we'll get an update from you on what happened. But in the meantime, thanks very much for that. Enjoy yourself down there. Get an ice cream and speak to you in a day or so.
Cheers, Matt. Catch up soon.
Cheers.